What comes to mind when you think of China? Is it, they've got a social credit system, we need to be wary of that we don't get that here as well? Or is it seeing all the records that they break when it comes to being one of the most technologically advanced nations? They have fantastic achievement when it comes to engineering, railways, train stations, airports. Some of the impressions you get from watching those videos are just absolutely incredible. How do they achieve this? Or are your thoughts more going into the direction of incredible natural beauty, some ancient traditions that might still be kept going, and how that kind of might fit in with their modern way of life and fast-moving pace? In today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind, I continue the series of what the world can learn from ... And we're going to China and looking at the more ancient Chinese teachings, philosophies, wisdom, and maybe some of those teachings could end up helping us in the West to further our own progress if we are willing to open our minds and be ready to learn from others. So today we will look at how ancient Chinese philosophy and teachings, how they viewed the world, human nature, and the mind, and how these perspectives can help us restore balance in a time when many people feel overwhelmed, disconnected, and constantly under pressure. Which might beg the question of how many people over there in China are actually feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, and constantly under pressure, considering all the hard work they put in to achieve all these technological advances, engineering, records, fastest railways, and lots of that. I'm sure this does not come easy to people over there either. But that's not the point of the episode. The point of the episode is to look at the ancient wisdom from that culture over there in the Far East. To understand Chinese thinking, we need to start with the philosophical roots of the Chinese mindset. And those philosophical roots come from Confucianism, Taoism or Taoism, and Buddhism. These three systems have shaped Chinese culture and the collective psyche for thousands of years, influencing not only religion or politics, but everyday attitudes towards life, relationships, work, and well-being. Confucianism emphasizes moral integrity, social harmony, and respect, not only for elders and authority, but for the social order in life. It's about cultivating virtue, self-discipline, and emotional regulation. Confucius believed that when individuals develop their character and act with empathy and integrity, society as a whole becomes more balanced. Taoism, on the other hand, focuses on living in harmony with the Tao, the natural flow or way of the universe. The Tao, cannot be forced or controlled. It must be followed like a river that guides us downstream. This mindset values stillness, observation, and effortless action. That's what the Chinese call Wu Wei. Excuse my pronunciation if you're listening and you're Chinese. And I've got some recommendations here because Dr. Wayne Dyer, he had a few books out that went into step-by-step wisdom of the Tao, and The books are Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao, or Tao, and Living the Wisdom of the Tao is another one. And Buddhism, which later integrated into Chinese thought, brought mindfulness and the concept of impermanence, the understanding that everything changes and that attachment causes suffering. Together, these philosophies shaped a collective mindset that values balance, patience, inner cultivation, and harmony with both nature and others. What is the view of the Chinese of mind and energy? In traditional Chinese thought, the mind and body are not separate. They are two aspects of one living system. The heart, mind, or yin, again, mind my pronunciation, is considered the seat of consciousness, thought, and emotion. Emotional and mental health are inseparable from physical health and the flow of qi or life energy. When qi flows freely, a person experiences harmony and well-being. When it becomes blocked or imbalanced, disease arises, physically, mentally, or emotionally. This perspective contrasts sharply with the Western dualist view that separates the mind from the physical. Neuroscience today is slowly rediscovering this ancient truth, showing how emotions, the nervous system, and even gut health profoundly affect cognitive function and mood. So what can we learn from this? Perhaps to stop viewing the mind as something abstract and detached, and to recognize that what we eat, how we breathe, how we move, and even how we relate to others all influence our mental clarity and emotional stability. A core Chinese concept is Yin and Yang, the dynamic balance between opposites, rest and action, reflection and expression, control and surrender. If we translate that into neuroscience, Yin and Yang mirror the brain's need for balance between different networks, between the default mode network responsible for reflection, creativity, and self-awareness, and the task-positive network which manages focus and goal-directed action. In modern life, we often overactivate the task-positive side, constant doing, achieving, and multitasking, without enough yin time for rest, stillness, and internal reflection. The result is overstimulation, stress, and burnout. Applying yin-yang thinking encourages a rhythm of balance, work and rest, input and output, noise and silence, which allows the brain to recover, integrate, and stay flexible. So what can the world learn from Chinese mindsets and teachings? First, the art of harmony, not as conformity or passivity, but as a conscious effort to create equilibrium in our relationships and within ourselves. Actually, I would say the other way around, because if we don't create the equilibrium within ourselves, how can we then create equilibrium within the relationships? We have to get okay with ourselves first before we can be okay with others. Second, the value of moderation and patience, qualities that counteract our Western obsession with speed, control, and instant results. Here comes again my question. How much of that did the Chinese take over actually? How obsessed are they with speed, control and instant results? But anyway, third, what we can also learn is the practice of self-cultivation, viewing personal development not as competition, but as refinement of the self for the benefit of the community. And finally, it might be helpful to get the understanding that everything is connected. Mind, body, energy, nature, and society. When we act with awareness of these interconnections, our decisions become wiser, our actions more compassionate, and our lives more balanced. The importance is to apply this to our lives and not just listen to it and do nothing. That's not how it works. As we have seen, Chinese philosophy and teachings offer timeless lessons about balance, harmony, and mindful living. Lessons that modern neuroscience is only beginning to echo. When we start integrating these ideas and applying them to daily life, slowing down, observing the flow of our own thoughts, and seeking alignment rather than control, we begin to live more consciously, more peacefully, and with a greater sense of purpose. And having and cultivating a sense of purpose in our lives is so important. If we don't have a sense of purpose that links with our values, we are easily getting lost in the crazy modern times that we live in. And that's it for this week in Exploring Brain and Mind. As always, I encourage you to share the episode with other people who might be interested, to follow and subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music and YouTube, and to tune in again to next week's episode when we will continue the series of what the world can learn from. Thanks for listening.